What's up, guys? Bones88 here today. Dragon Champs dropped an exciting new update, lots of new stuff, a very big surprise, and I didn't see this coming out of nowhere, so I'm very, very happy, and I'm about to let you guys know what I think about it. So let's get into it. Alright, we're going to start back here on Discord. I'm going to sum it up a little bit so this video doesn't go out for a long time. And, I got Dusty here helping me out.
What's up, people?
Good to have you back, buddy. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, it has.
Alright, so generally there's a new difficulty tier for Heroic Guild Raid Erochar Madness 8. A true challenge for the experienced guilds with the better rewards. So T8's coming out. We've known this for a few weeks now. Nothing too new about that. I am happy that it's coming out sooner rather than later. I thought this might take a little bit longer. I'm excited to get some new rewards and stuff like that, and I'm just ready to see what it's about. What do you think about that, man?
I didn't say this earlier, but I will say I like how fast it's happening, because I think we're all a little sick and tired of waiting. Not necessarily because we don't like the developers, but because it just feels like nothing has happened for so long.
Yeah.
And then with the tanking of Battlegrounds 1.0, we really want more content, so knowing they got the T8 going and they're going to be shoving that out quickly, because it's kind of just like a boost in difficulty. It's not really anything brand new. Gives me a little encouragement to want to stay. I hope the new Battlegrounds comes out just as quickly.
Yes, I agree, man. I agree, and I think that's going to keep us at bay a little bit, because it's nothing too crazy, like you said. It's just kind of sliding some bars up and stats, and there you go.
Right.
But it does say here they're changing the look of Erochar the Dragon, and they're doing some other things, so... there's also a new character named Garrett. He is a human. He's in the Order, and a fighter and a ranger. And we're not going to go too deep into him right this second because his kit is down later, and we'll talk about that. And,
yeah, absolutely.
And then so they have a couple balance changes. Buff, they removed the stun from possible debuffs in the dice throw ability, and they removed taunt from possible buffs in dice throw ability. And Dusty, do you just want to explain to him real quick why they did that?
Well, the reason that they did it is because the taunt was too predictable for the AI's benefit, and everybody didn't like it. For instance, if you used it and the taunt ended up on your buff, well, that should be a good thing because he'd be dodging, but then he wouldn't dodge. Whereas the buff would the taunt would land on the enemy buff, which means you had to attack him, and he'd dodge. It just made it bad. The stun was a problem as well, because when they use that, your stun would typically land on the worst character you didn't care about, or, and often this happened for me, the stun and the blind would land on the exact same person, which just negates both of those buffs. You only get to really take advantage of one of them.
Yeah.
Whereas enemies would use that, the enemy buff would use that, and blind and stun would land on the perfect characters, and so you'd be stuck. And just that's a huge disadvantage. And I think taking those away will give you a little bit more of a fighting chance when RNG doesn't go your way so much.
That's what it really came down to, was the RNG aspect of it. And a lot of people put a lot of money into this character, and so they kind of just want a little bit more consistency with him, I think. So
yeah, and climbing is no longer fun the way it is. So I think they're trying to get back to a more predictable kind of, and not necessarily just best runes win, because I don't think they want that either. I think they want you, even as an under-runed squad, to have a chance.
Yeah.
But I also think that they want, people who really should be winning to basically be winning every time, and people who don't care about their runes, or, just haven't gotten, as successful, in their upgrades, that they would have a chance to.
Right. And, I spent $150 on him, and what I've gotten so far is, I think it's worth the money. I've always been around 100 in arena, and I've, for the first time, gotten to 25 today. So, and with that being said, with this nerf coming, I'm not too worried about it, and I've heard from other people that they're really excited about it too. So, not a bad thing. It makes him. With that being said, do you think he's a worse character or a better character with this?
Well, he's definitely a worse character, but it's definitely much better for the game. What I mean by that is he might not be as dominant, even just one on one, or 3-on-1 or whatever. He might not have as much dominance, but it's also going to allow other squads to have a much more viable chance at beating them rather than the overwhelming superiority of the buff and demons with Mordor meta. And I think a lot of these changes are helping to bring back elves, and then this new, human is going to bring back humans, hopefully. And I think they're trying to rebalance something that's buffed kind of, maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally, messed up. And so I think it's a good thing.
Yep, I agree. I'm not too worried about it. So, all right. So, so Kagi has also a change to his Alliance of Winds passive ability. Increases magic damage by 30%. If Boreas is in the party when the battle begins, Kagi and Boreas both gain dodge increase for 2 turns. And before that, it was damage increase. And to me, that's not a huge change either way, but I mean, it never hurts to have dodge. What do you think about that?
I would say it's a pretty lateral move. Personally, I would have liked it to stay as damage, just because of the fact that Pride already has much higher than average dodge rate due to Hera's lead. But I also think and I didn't even think about this before when we were talking about it, but I also think that it might leave some room open for the Roxy with Revol lead, because it does give them that innate dodge chance, and you don't have to rely on Hera's leadership to give you that dodge. So I think it's a good thing. It's not game-breaking or world-changing or anything. I think it's just a nice little lateral change that they're trying to add some usability to other characters.
And with Battlegrounds coming around, I want to see like more characters, so that you can, like in Galaxy of Heroes, where you can split like the Rebels in 2. I want to be able to do that with Pride or Elves or whatever, where you can kind of have 2 teams with a faction instead of just 1, and having 2 or 3 just left behind where you never use them. Alright, so moving on, they had some bug fixes, and really, I don't even know what a lot of these mean. We can read through them real quick, but I don't have much to say about them. Fixed a times 10 premium chest bonus Dray coins that were now not being added properly. Fixed the equip all button. Event chest now remains visible until the end of the event, and fixed crashes that occurred upon opening artifact chests. So nothing I ever had problems with, but at least they're fixing some bugs, so no big deal. Alright, moving on. This is the best part of the whole update, I thought. Had no idea he was coming. They didn't drop any hints or anything. So Garrett is going to be the next Battle Pass character. And if you don't know what that is, every month they have a point system where you gain rewards, and you gain shards for that character. And you can pay $10 and get even more rewards. But we've covered that in other past videos. But he's the next new character. So let's go over his kit real quick, and we'll tell you guys how we feel about this. On his basic, he deals 300% of physical damage to an enemy, applies the effect of a pulled arrow. Now this pulled arrow effect we'll go over down below, because it describes that too. His second ability, it has a cooldown of 4 out of 4, and it deals 300% of physical damage to all enemies, applies the effect of a pulled arrow. His third ability has a cooldown of 3 out of 4, so you'll be able to use that before your second ability. And it removes all effects of invisibility from enemies, which that right there is pretty cool. Is there any other characters that do that?
Not that I'm aware of. Trying to think through, but just off the top of my head, I think there's only one character that can do it, but it's not all enemies. It's just one, I think.
Yeah, so to me,
I'm not sure who that is. I can't remember who it is to save my life right now.
To me, that's a huge ability there, so that's pretty cool, and that's just the beginning of it. He blinds all enemies for 1 turn, and that means that all the whole team won't be able to hit anybody for a turn, right?
Right.
So that's crazy right there. So you're getting rid of all the invisibility, and there's a lot of invisibility on buff teams, and if you have Keira or Wonder Lula, that's going to go good against them. and then you blind,
Yes, it will.
and then in the same exact ability, you're blinding him. So that's crazy. That right there is nuts. And then after that, you got Garrett and all allies receive an accuracy increase for 2 turns. If Eric's shield breakers with Garrett, he receives a critical damage increase and a crit chance increase for 2 turns. So he's getting a bunch of buffs. It seems like he's going to be best with Eric's shield breaker, but you know how that goes. Sometimes just because they're in the kit doesn't mean they're best together. But we'll see about that. What do you think about that whole entire move there?
I think, again, first of all, I think they're trying to reward players who did choose to go with Eric Shieldbreaker instead of like Snorri or some of the other humans,
Yeah.
and allow you to, because I mean he's such a prominent tournament character. I think they're saying, well, we add another character, you're going to get more use out of Eric Shieldbreaker other than just on a on a tournament.
Yeah.
So I think that's good.
Yeah.
Again, I think it sounds good, but it's going to depend on how they decide they want to gear. Are they going to give them a lot of natural potency? Or are they going to make you have to put? Because I mean, if with a high damage character like him, are you going to be able to put high damage, like damage mods with the crit chance set, or are you going to have to put a potency set on there or a potency primary? Like, how are they going to? Because I mean, some characters start out with like 40% tenacity, and then not tenacity, potency, and then other characters start with like 6%.
Yeah.
You know, like Major Shot.
Yep.
He has no potency, so if you want to be able to make use of his heal immunity blind ability, you have to mod him like crazy for potency, which takes away from his damage and his crit chance. And it's just, I hope they make his gear allow him to be, strong, and allow you to mod him the way that you'd typically want to mod somebody like him.
Yeah, yeah. And let's do his passive ability, and then we'll talk more overall. Okay, so this is getting into what the effect of a pulled arrow is, and I think it's pretty cool. It's interesting. It's a cool little kit.
It's definitely unique.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how he does. At the end of his turn, Garrett pulls out a random arrow from his quiver. These are the possible arrows he can pull. Sharp arrow inflicts a bleeding effect. A fire arrow inflicts a burning effect. Poison arrow inflicts a poison effect. I think you guys see where this is going. A daze arrow inflicts a daze effect. An ice arrow inflicts a slow effect. And these effects last 2 turns. There's also one more that's called an anti-mage arrow, and it removes all buffs, which is pretty badass. But you don't know if you're ever going to get that, because I think these are all random if I'm reading it right. And if Eric Shieldbreaker...
Yeah, he just pulls a random arrow.
So you never know what you're going to get, but they're all pretty good. I can't complain about any of the effects it does, and it's definitely pretty interesting. But once again, a lot of RNG involved. If Eric Shieldbreaker is on the battlefield, Garrett and Eric both gain an additional 10% health and 10 speed. So do you think that 10 speed makes much of a difference?
It's going to do a lot, because the most annoying part of Eric Shieldbreaker is his debuff immunity. So if you can get that ability off, Buff can't land any of his debuffs because you've gotten that off. Him having a plus 10 speed is going to really help him. I think the unsung hero of that ability is the speed and then also the health, because typically attackers are kind of glass cannons, so if you add 10% to their health, it's definitely going to keep them more survivable, and if you can keep them alive, they're going to be able to do more damage. So I think it's a double win for Eric Shieldbreaker, and then also for Garrett if you can get them on the same team.
Yeah, so this is going to be pretty interesting. Like I said, I don't know if he's going to be good or bad, but his kit looks pretty cool, and hopefully he might make Eric Shieldbreaker a little more useful. He's not a horrible character, but it'd be cool to just actually use him for something. And
yeah, and it's going to be interesting how what's going to be the best human team now, because it used to include, Freezard, but Freezard and Snorri kind of were designed to feed off each other. And if you want to put Nightingale on that team, you're kind of not going to be able to fit all of these characters. Soleus, Nightingale, you need a tank, so you have to have a little baddie on there. There's not enough room if you want Eric and Garrett on there. So I think that it's gonna bring some unique compositions to the human faction.
Yeah, and hopefully like another leader, because I don't want to have to gear up Darien for Battlegrounds. So
Yeah, and Darian is not. He's just not a great leader. I think he's a cool character in, his design, his graphic design, and he looks awesome. But he's not a great. I mean, he's just a decent character, and a lot of people don't want to invest in a decent character from an already full faction.
right, yep, I agree, man. I agree. All right, well, one more thing. It says the balance changes for Erochar Madness Guild Raid. Now, when I read this, I was like, oh, okay. I think they're trying to make it harder. So it says increased potency for guild bosses in Erochar Madness from 10% for Tier 1 all the way to 80% for Tier 8. And
It was increased potency or tenacity. I'm sorry,
potency.
potency.
Okay.
Well, it's just gonna mean that if he is supposed to land a debuff, particularly in the later ones, he's definitely gonna land it. Like
Yeah.
tenacity is not gonna have that much of an effect. So I think increasing the potency it's an okay thing. At least they're not ramping the damage up earlier on.
Yeah, I agree. And then also it says Erochar the Dragon is now immune to blind in T7. Is that going to be a big deal?
I did not read this. Yeah, that's going to be a huge
Yeah, I
deal
thought so
because
too.
there's no longer going to be any solos. I think making it so you cannot strategically use what you have available is always a bad thing. You know,
Yeah.
like, and because that wasn't a broken mechanic either. It wasn't like in the Sith raid when people were finding these cheats, basically,
Yeah,
where Jedi Knight Anakin could solo, the entire third part of the. It wasn't anything like that.
yeah,
It was just, oh well, these characters are designed to do this, but we don't want you to be able to use them the way that they're designed to be used, which is kind of like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
and that I don't like that. That's just me, but I don't like it. I think
yeah.
you let people use the characters that are available in the way that they're supposed to be used.
And there's one more. It says increased tenacity by 10% for T7 raid bosses. So that might only be for T7 too. But honestly, the whole thing is just kind of weird. Like, why don't you just leave it where it's at? But I have heard a lot of people complaining that like 2 or 3 people will just solo the T7 raid, and a lot of other people just want to be able to kind of try to get in there and do stuff, but they don't, just because there's 3 people that just solo it, and by the time they try to, it's done. So maybe
Yeah,
that.
and I've mentioned that too. But that's a guild thing. That's not something you solve by making the raid nearly impossible. That's not because what
Yeah.
that's going to do is it's going to make the people who can already solo it mad,
Yeah.
and then it's basically going to make tons and tons of different guilds who used to be able to do it based on one particular player in their guild. Now they're no longer going to be able to do it,
Yeah.
which is just going to make them that much more disheartened and defeated
Yeah.
because they can't even get tier 7 rewards. Or if you can't even get tier 7 rewards, what the heck are we doing here?
Yeah, it just seems it seems really weird to do it now, and I guess we'll see how it plays out. But I feel like this isn't going to last very long, because that just seems weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think
what
it's
their
a great
intentions
idea.
were. But all right, man, that's about it. So yeah, guys, that's the update that they just dropped on us today. It was kind of a surprise. We got a new character and everything, which is cool. We're excited about. Anything else you want to say about this update?
Well, the update has some pluses and minuses, and I'd say that it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, at least for now. But we really need to see a lot more of this, and they've got a lot to prove. How are they going to deal with releasing Garrett once the season is over? Are they going to continue to screw us over, put it in Battlegrounds, or are they going to put it somewhere where we can actually farm it? Are they going to make a new store? What are they going to do to make us feel like we can attain what they're finally releasing?
Yep.
So 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So it's progress, but how much? I'm not certain.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. And I'm just overall happy that it came out quickly. Like we talked about a week or two ago, we had no timeline for any of this, so it's kind of cool that they kind of dropped it on us out of nowhere. Not a lot of stuff to take from this, but a new character, new tier, and a few buffs. That's gonna be about it, guys. Thanks, Dusty, for coming back, man. It was good having you again, and we'll see you guys later.